So let's read through this first example. Okay, so we're going to start off very basic here with our equations. Just like when you guys first learned how to solve equations way back when, you start with very simple equations. We're going to start with a simple quadratic equation, okay, to solve it. Okay, so because it is a quadratic, there will be, and I'm going to say at most 2 solutions. Okay, I put at most 2 because sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 1, sometimes there's 0. In this case, there's going to be 2 solutions in this equation. Okay, but quadratic equations, that's one of the new kind of results we can get with quadratic equations. Sometimes there's 2 answers to an equation, sometimes there's 1, and sometimes there's none. Okay, so at most 2. Okay, how do we solve a quadratic equation like this? First, you want to isolate the x squared term. That means get it by itself on one side of the equation. Do we have it isolated here? Yes. Okay, x squared is by itself, right? Number 2, take the square root of both sides. A square root, right? It cancels out a square. All right, and then we'll put a plus or minus in front of the number. Okay, because again, we're going to get 2 solutions here in these cases. And then we'll simplify both sides. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, well, let's actually solve this one here real quick. Now, you guys might not need to solve it. You already might know the answer. Remember, when we're solving an equation, we're trying to find the x values, all of the x values that make this equation true. What's an x value that we can square and get positive 16? 4, right? Okay, x equals 4. What other number can you square and get a positive 16? Sky? Negative 4. Okay, there's 2 solutions to this equation. Positive 4, because if you square a positive 4, you get 16, right? But if I square a negative 4, I also get 16. Okay, so both work. There's 2 solutions. Sometimes we combine these together and it looks like this. Plus or minus 4. We put the plus and the minus in front to indicate it's both positive 4 and negative 4. Okay, so you can write it either way. That's what they mean by they put a plus or minus in front of the number. Okay, and then we simplify everything. So there's the plus or minus thing because it shows both positive 4 and negative 4. Okay, so let's try and mental math this one. What number, when you square it, gives you 25? 5 and negative 5. And so the answer is plus or minus 5. Okay. Of course, you could, write the square root here, and we'll get then the x, and the square root of 25 is plus or minus 5 there. Okay. And number 2, can we start off by just taking the square root of both sides first here, number 2? Not yet. What do we got to do first? Right, Trey, what do we do first? Divide by 2. We have 2x squared here, right? Remember, our first step is to isolate the x squared term. The x squared term is not by itself. We have to divide everything by 2 first. So the 2's cancel. We're left with x squared equals 40 divided by 2? 20. Okay? All right. And now what do we do? Square root. Very good. Okay? X equals, put a plus or minus. Now, is the square root of 20, is 20 a perfect square? No. So should we just leave it square root of 20? It's not a perfect square, but can we simplify it? Yes. We can. What can we break 20 up into? What perfect square can we break 20 up into? 4 and 5. So we're going to say x equals plus or minus the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Bless you. What is the square root of 4? 2. So it's plus or minus 2 times the square root of 5. Okay? So that's our answer there. I'll zoom in some on that so you guys can see it maybe a little bit better. Okay? Excuse me. Questions on any of that? All right. Aaron, I know you were asking about it before. Are you feeling better about this stuff? Yes or no? And it's okay if not, but I need to know. So that's a no, I'm going to guess by your silence. Okay? So, any particular questions here on 1 or 2, Aaron, about what I did? No. All right. Well, let's try another one here. Aaron, I'm going to have you help me with this one, okay? Number 3. Oh, Okay? Not yet. We will. What should be our first step here, Aaron? Look at everything that's there. What else is with the x that we need to deal with? How do you get rid of a minus 3? How do you get rid of that minus 3? Shh. Okay? That's going to make 72. Okay, Aaron. Now what should we do, Aaron? Now, right, again, get that x squared by itself, so we'll divide everything by 2. Okay, 72 divided by 2. Anyone know it off the top of their head?
36.
Very good, yeah, 36. So we have x squared equals 36. Okay, Aaron, take us home. What's our final step here? Square root. Okay, so x equals plus or minus?
6.
Mr. Wid, when we were doing the warm-up, we didn't put any plus or minuses in there. In the warm-up, were we solving an equation? No, we were simplifying an expression. Okay? When you simplify an expression, okay, you're just taking what you got there, the root 24 or the root 63 or the root 98, and you're just simplifying it down. Okay? That's all we're doing. In an equation, we are simplifying, but we're trying to find all of the possible x values that make the equation true. Right? We saw here, number 1, there's 2 x values that make this true. Positive 5 and negative 5 both work. We have to account for both because we're trying to solve this, show all the solutions. Same thing with 2. When we square root both sides here, we have to put plus or minus the square root of 20 because x equal to positive root 20 and x equal to negative root 20 works. Again, if you don't believe me, use your calculators and just let me show you. Okay? 2 parentheses, square root of 20, whoops, squared, right? I'm going to plug the root 20, the positive root 20, in here, and look what I get. 40, which is exactly what, oops, I'm off the screen there, which is exactly what we said you're supposed to get. Right, let me plug in negative root 20. Okay, so there's negative root 20 squared, also 40. So you see why we have the need for that plus or minus in there. There's 2 answers that work here. And then same thing here. The square root of 36 is going to be plus or minus what? 6, and that is our answer there. Okay? Questions on any of that? No questions? All right, so I would like you to try. Yeah, I'm going to have you do. Let me have you do 4, 5, 6. And we'll go from there. Okay, try 4, 5, and 6, please. Try 4, 5, and 6. Can you do 4, 5, and 6 first, and then I'll let you go? Unless it's an emergency, then you can go. But I'd like you to try these out, please. Have you got done before her? No, you should wait for Sierra because she asked first. Sorry, Katie. Question? I hope so. Let me come take a look. Okay, what did you do first? Okay, so you had a +1. Who got?
You give me help.
Of course. Close. The square root of 64 is not 4. Check your calculator. All right, what's up? Okay, which one you working on? Well, 4, 5, and 6. So you got to pick. We can start with either one. You do, but you just don't think you do. Okay, so pick one. Okay, so is the x squared term by itself? Yes, it is. Right? There's nothing else but the x squared, right? How do you get rid of the square? What do you do to both sides?
Square the other side.
Okay, so it's squared already. You want to undo the square. What cancels out a square? Square root. Simple there. Okay, so far so good. What's
Then I finished.
You did. Now, next one.
No, it was 7.
So for this one, you want to divide both sides by 2 first. You got to isolate the x squared term, get the x squared term by itself. Okay, what do we do now? Number 5. What's different here?
There's a 3.
Okay, how can we get rid of that 3?
Divide.
There you go. What? So divide both sides by 3, right? Okay. So what's 75 divided by 3? Yes. Not bad mental math. Very good. Yes. What's the square root of 25? Plus or minus. Okay. What's that number 6? Yes. What's
So
the?
is it 3x squared?
Okay. So this is a plus 1, and that's 2x squared. Can we put these together? They're not like terms, right? So how can we start getting the x squared by itself? What do we? Minus what for both sides? Yes. Good so far. If you finish 4, 5, and 6, go ahead and give 7, 8, and 9 a try too. Okay, just give those a try as well. They're not. I did not assign for any particular reason. Go ahead and try 7, 8, and 9. Okay, finish 4, 5, and 6, and you're feeling good. Try 7, 8, and 9. That's right. 18 divided by 5. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Darn it. Yeah, you're welcome. Plus or minus.
Yes, sir.
First. Yep. 3. And you're going to square root to get rid of the x squared.
What? Did he get sent down?
Yep.
Rhubarb. Oh my gosh. I thought you didn't get this. I just guessed. I guessed really good. I hate stuff. No, you did fine. Good job. Okay, nice stuff. Okay. So, what's first? There you go. Just like you solve an equation. You know what I mean? At the end, you're going to square root of the perfect square. What?
I almost been here for 2 days.
Careful, square root of 64 is 8. But yes, otherwise you're good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're good, though, Kaylee. Good job. I know, Kaylee. Imagine what you can accomplish if you're here every day.
I'm sorry, I'm sick.
I understand it happens, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
So, Mr. Steve, you guys go to the regional for those states? So it's like real
Question. Oh, okay.
What's around 2? What is What is
Well, so 25 is already a perfect square. So if you square root it, you just get 5. So I'm good to go. We only have to break it up, Aaron. We have to break this one up because it's not a perfect square. So we can't just square root and get a number. We have to break it up so we have a perfect square and then simplify. Okay, folks, real quick here. Let's take a look. Boom. 4 plus or minus 8. 5 plus or minus 5. 6 plus or minus 3. Okay, questions on any of those?
Yes.
No?
Number 6.
Number 6. So this one has some stuff with the x squared, so you just want to isolate it, just like you would for any other equation. Subtract 1. Listen up, please. Subtract 1 on both sides. You get 2x squared equals 18. Divide both sides by 2. You get x squared equals 9 square root now. Square root of 9 is 3, and of course it's plus or minus 3. Okay? For 7, you square root here, you're going to get x equals plus or minus the square root of 50. Now, is 50 a perfect square? No, but it can be simplified to be root 25 times root 2, which is then plus or minus 5 square roots of 2. Okay? So that's what 7 simplifies to be, plus or minus 5 root 2. Here, what should I do in number 8 for my first step? Divide both sides by, not positive 2, negative 2. Okay, so we get x squared equals negative 24 divided by negative 2 is positive 12. Square root both sides. We get x equals plus or minus the square root of 12. But root 12, we can break that down into 4 and 3. And so it becomes plus or minus 2 square root of 3. Okay? Okay, sorry. Okay.
Could you do 6 and 2?
6 and 2 would work, but is 6 a perfect square? Is 2 a perfect square? No, it's not. 2 is not. And so we want to break it down, Grayson, with the perfect squares. We're looking for things that like perfect squares that divide. Yes, at least one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, last one here, number 9. What's our first step? Anybody? Add 2 to both sides. 4x squared equals 192. Then divide by 4. We get x squared equals, I don't know what 192.
192 divided by 4.
48. Okay, then we square root both sides. I'm going to run out of space here, so I have to go up this way. So we get x squared equals the square, we get x equals plus or minus the square root of 48. And then I think that's going to be root 16 times root 4. No.
12 and 40? That's not perfect square.
It should be
16 and 3.
16 and 3. Thank you. That's what it is.
Just strip you up.
Yeah, and so it's going to be x equals plus or minus 4 root 3 there for number 9. Okay. All right.
How'd you get 4 root 3?
Because square root of 16 is 4.
Oh, I thought it was 6.
Nope. Yes, you may. Thank you for waiting. All right, one more problem I want to show you here. Flip your papers over, please. Turn your papers over. Okay, I got one more I want to show you here. I'm just going to squeeze it at the bottom of the page. So when it comes to solving quadratic equations, right, with square roots, I should say, we have to be a little bit careful. We will not be able to solve. We will not be able to solve, I'm going to say it one more time. We will not be able to solve every quadratic equation using square roots. It's just not possible, okay? The only kind of quadratic equations that we can solve using square roots, okay, are equations that do not have this bx term in it like this, okay, if they have no middle term, okay? Because if you have the bx term, then you're not going to be able to isolate the x, okay? You won't be able to do it. So you'll notice here, none of these have a bx, right? There's no bx. There's no b term, okay? All right. Let me do this here. Oh, I do want to do one or two of these here. Let's see here. Let me do number 5, because that one's a little bit funky, and I'll do number 4 as well here. Okay, and then I have one other one I want to show you. I'll put it down here. Okay, we'll call this problem 10. Okay, so problem 4. Let's focus in on that one, and then I'll show you the next one here. Okay. First step, what should we do? So, yeah, and? Yes, okay, this big bar here, right, what operation does this mean, folks? Divide. So to undo divide, we will multiply both sides by 2. Okay, good job there, Anna. Yes, so we have 3x squared plus 2 equals 8. Okay, now it should be very familiar, right? Now it should be very familiar at this point. All right, so our next step should be to do what? What do you say, Braden? What should be our next step here? Yes, sir. 3x squared equals 6. And then, Braden, you want to do the next step too? Yes. X squared equals 2. And then last step there, Braden. Sorry? So we have x squared. We want to undo the square. What undoes squares? A square root, like this. Yeah? So we get x equals plus or minus the square root of 2. Okay? Can we simplify the square root of 2 at all, folks? No. So we will stop and circle it. Okay? So 2 answers. Positive root 2, negative root 2. Okay, questions on number 4. All right, let's go to number 5. Okay. What's different about number 5? There's 4 terms, right? What else? How else can we describe it? Max?
It's kind of x squared
On each side. So what do you think we should do? If there's x squared on both sides, what do you think we should do here? Sky? Combine them together. We got to do it using algebra, so we're going to subtract x squared from both sides. Okay? So what's going to be left over here on the right-hand side? Okay, the 18 there. If I take 3x squared and I subtract an x squared, what do I now have? 2x squared, and I still have that plus 2. Well, we have 3, and we're taking away 1. So it's going 1 less to 2. Okay? And so then, Aaron, at this point, how should we continue to solve here? Subtract 2. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. And then how about Sierra? What's our next step here, Sierra? Yes, ma'am. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay. Erica, what's our last step here? We have x squared. What? Yeah, the thingy, the square root symbol. Yep, square root. So we get x equals plus or minus the square root of 8. Okay. That's right. Okay, don't forget the plus or minus in front, right? Is that the best we can do? No. What can we break that 8 up into be? 2, 4. So I'll do root 4, root 2. What is the square root of 4? 2. So we're going to have 2 root 2. And there's our final answer there. Yep. Yep. Okay. Now I got one more for you here. I'm going to make it up here real quick. Okay, so bear with me because it could be crazy. But hopefully not. All right, here we go. Ready? Can I move it up? Anyone still writing? Okay, problem number 10. Okay, problem number 10. Here's what I'm going to give you guys. This is going to be a little bit weird, so I'm going to show it to you here first. Let's do x minus 1 in parentheses squared plus 2, bless you, equals 18. X minus 1 in parentheses squared plus 2 equals 18. A little bit different. What's different about this one? I got parentheses, I got something in with the x, besides just an x there, right? It's not just x being squared, it's x minus 1 that's being squared. We can solve this still. Okay? What do you think our first step should be here? Alex? Okay, so that's one way we could go, but that actually doesn't make things, it's going to make things harder for us. Let's start solving here. What should be our first step if we wanted to solve? Subtract 2 on both sides. Okay? That leaves us with the x minus 1 quantity squared here, and then 18 minus 2 is going to be 16. Okay? Now again, if we wanted to continue to solve here, what should be our next step? We got a square root next. We want a square root, okay? We're going to actually cancel out this square by square rooting. And we're going to square root over here too. What's going to be left over here if we square root? X minus 1. What's the square root of 16? 4. We're going to do plus or minus 4. Okay. Have we solved for x yet?
No.
Not yet. What do we still have to do?
We have to do
What's with the x still?
negative x. We got to do it.
So we're going to add 1 to both sides, right? I'm running out of space, so I'll have to put it up here. So we'll have x equals 1 plus or minus 4. Plus 1 plus or minus 4. What is that really equal to?
5.
5 is one of them. What's the other one? Negative 3. So in other words, this is 2 solutions. X is equal to 1 plus 4, or x, you have to write both. So we get 5 and then negative 3 there. I'm sorry, I ran out of space for myself. Okay, I know. Okay, that's our 2 answers. So that plus or minus really splits up into 2 answers. 1 plus 4, 1 minus 4. Okay, but the process is still the same. We got the square term by itself. Oops, I froze it. We got the square term by itself. We subtracted 2, right? Then once you got the square term by itself, you square root both sides. We get a plus or minus 4 for our answer, and we're just going to have to add this 1 over now to get the x by itself. We get 1 plus or minus 4. Okay? Whoops, that's blurry. Ugh. There we go. All right, what I want you to do then for homework is to finish the rest of these. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, finish them off, please. All right, I'll give you 10 minutes. Yeah, but some of you guys are really quick with these, so I want to give you all of them. Some people are already done.
Well, we still have plenty of time.
You got plenty of time. 10 minutes. Let's get it done, please. 1 through 9, please.
Actually, you have
Finish
more
them.
than 30 minutes.
Oh, more than 30 minutes. That's right. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. But anyway, no, it's like 10 minutes. Okay. What's? Oh no, you're right. Yeah, we have like over 30 minutes. That's right. So this is it, guys. We're ready to go. Okay. This is it.
What?
Okay.
You go to the ballot this time.
This is it. Okay. So let's get it done, please, folks. Let's get it done, please. Okay. 1 through 9. There should be no one tomorrow that says, Mr. Wood, I didn't do my homework. I'll be like, what'd you do for the 35 minutes that I gave you, right? Mr. Wood, I didn't understand it. Well, why don't you ask me?